Hello and welcome back. Yes, I'm finally back on my second channel of What's News J77. I am doing one story, and after next week, during the fall season, there will be multiple stories that's going down. I might as well explain my absence. I took a vacation away from a lot of my stuff that I was doing. I actually ended a couple of series on my old channel, pretty much on a hiatus. I always try to do that. A couple of stuff is going to go on hiatus and then start right back over again. I decided to take a move away from What's News, my more political program, due to the fact that my summer schedule was crazy. A lot of tourists came to New York, and being that I'm a ticket agent selling bus tickets, I pretty much have to focus on that, especially when your livelihood is commission based only. You want to get as many tickets as possible so you can live and pay the bills. So that was my major focus, and I just needed to get away from it all. Just needed to soak in a lot of stuff. I have been keeping tabs of the news. I was meant to actually post a What's News last week on this topic, but I decided to hold back. I want to get as much information as possible. And now, since the situation that's going on in Missouri, it is very evident that the topic is more going to be focusing on pretty much the police brutality, and some of the sides from both sides of the coin, from what the police says, what the citizens, not just in New York, because New York has their own personal battle going on right now, to what's going on in Missouri, and as well as how the media, both liberal and conservative, and even independent to a degree, has really painted this picture, not just on their political side, but also just the news abroad. There's a lot of stuff going on. Even politicians are surprisingly been trying to keep it, trying to downplay the situation, and you kind of sort of expect that, because we're in midterm, and the last thing they need to do is say something or do something that may cost them votes. Many people say that's a mistake. Others say that they should speak out, especially in this hot topic. So I'm going to cover a little bit of everything on this. I'm sticking with these topics. They actually are two pretty much intertwined with each other, because they are such very heated debate about police brutality, and the policies that targets a specific group of people. Let's start with the situation in St. Louis, because that has been one of those most insane thing that's been going on for the last few weeks. It has led to a lot of protests. It also led to a lot of clashing with the police department. This has become a very, very serious issue. the excuse me, the attorney general is involved. A lot of people's weighing in. It really goes to say that this is not going to go away anytime soon, and nor should it. And one of the main reasons is that a black teen was killed by a police officer, and a lot of stuff pretty much fell right into play after that. A lot of things has happened, a lot of things were said, and needless to say, it has led to a lot of stuff that was going on. One of the articles, which I have on my screen as I'm speaking to you right now, really reflects on a lot of things that's been happening, and why there has to be a serious look, not just for the people who's bearing the badge, but also the policies, which, let's be real, this is where the main heated topic is. Policies that the police department, whether in New York, St. Louis, or whatever, have really reflected bad on the cops, who just want to do their job, who just want to keep us safe, and just want to go home to their families alive. And that's something that I think everyone needs to take a serious look at, especially in a situation like this. Now, this is an article saying the suspended St. Louis police officer, I am into diversity, I kill everybody. This is something that he has said, or at least reportedly said. It was actually a video, which I pretty much will leave a link to so you guys can take a look at it yourself. But it said the St. Louis County police officer who was seen pushing a CNN anchor during a protest, and I can't pronounce this county name, but it's Ferguson, Missouri. If you guys tell me the right correction, I'll fix it immediately. I do apologize, I got it wrong. This week was suspended from duty after a conversational video surfaced in which he fashioned himself as a merciless killer. I personally believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, but I am also a killer, said the officer. This is Dean Page. He is a 35-year veteran in the video. I kill a lot, and I need to kill. I need to kill. I'll kill. I'm sorry. I need to. I kill a whole bunch more. If you don't want to get killed, don't show up in front of me. I have no problem with it. This is something that is actually in the video. God did not raise me to be a coward. And this is where I got a huge problem with, and I will get to that in a second. Page added, I am into diversity. I kill everybody. I don't care. This is a huge problem. And before I continue on this article, because there's a lot of stuff here, this article, this is one of the major problems with people like this in who has a badge. Is that kind of attitude, is that kind of thinking, is that kind of heartless, senseless thing that makes not just him, but a lot of other people, some of them look bad. And let's be realistic, these cops, they have a civic duty to serve and protect. That does not mean to become cowboys and shoot everything on sight. That's something you don't do, and that's something that what he says pretty much reflected some, not all, but some who holds that particular badge of honor, that shield, to go out and do what they are trained to do, what they are paid to do, what they're sacrificing their lives to do. This guy is pretty much have it all wrong, and I'll explain later. But let me read a little bit more of this here. The St. Louis County Police Chief Joe Bowman said Page has been suspended pending a review by the Internal Affairs Unit, which will begin Monday. The video was brought to Berner's attention by CNN, Don Lemon. With the comments on killing, that was obviously something that deeply disturbs me immediately. The commissioner, Bowman told the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. It also says the comment, which was made before members of the Christian organization, the Oath Keeper, also includes his story of going into Kenya in search of undocumented President Barack Obama. I flew to Africa right there, and I went to our undocumented president's home, Page said, holding a picture of him in Kenya. He was born in Kenya. Again, this is the kind of thinking that should never be tolerated in the police department of any kind, NYPD, LAPD, Kansas City PD, Missouri PD, anywhere, because this is the kind of thing that brings bad results. Page also has been ordered to take a psychiatric exam, according to Bomo, who issued a public apology for Page's remarks. He does not represent the rank and file of St. Louis County Police Department. This is what Bomo told CNN on Friday on their interview. Now, before I go any further, because that's actually the whole thing. There has been. Now, again, I will leave a link below so you guys can look for yourself. You guys can determine for yourself what it is. There has been a total of 6,622 comments. I'm speaking right now. That may go up in time, but that's how many people who voiced their own opinion on this. And as you always, as you know, people will have their different views on it. But here's what one says. Something's terribly wrong here. If a 35-year-old veteran does not represent your police force, who does? You see it as a system that allows a deeply troubled officer to stay in the system for 35 years. Very good point. And I'm glad he brings it up, because this is rise the problem, and this is why the situation in New York has happened, where you have a cop who has a history of abusing his power, allowing to stay on the force until something really blows up, and now we have this situation. I'll get to that in a second. But it says here, another person that read, and I'm getting different point of views here. Where I live, a former police officer has been arrested for murder because he handcuffed a man maced him and then kicked his head to cause injuries. That man died from it. He has long he has a long history of abuse of power, shot 2 dogs, maced a kitten, and numerous domestic violence. He moved. I'm gonna read this again because this is again reflecting the people who are saying this. This is something that's based on experience. He moved from police department to police department for 20 years, and even after being fired from a different police department, he was still allowed to carry a firearm and be a police officer. Let's go on to the next comment here. If they let this psychopath anywhere near a gun again, they are insane. Another comment says if they do take his certification, he will just pop up somewhere else, maybe in your town. I'm reading down the line here, and I'm reading this for a reason. I was a cop for 38 years. A guy that talks chive like that are usually doing just that, taking charge. Probably he has never killed anyone, and he has made a serious dumb ass comment. Shame on you, Officer Page. You just gave good cops all over the country yet another thing to be embarrassed about. I gotta give God credit. He just said it right there. This is something that has been troublesome. Good cops is just as getting as much of blame as the cops who commit dumb, stupid, idiotic, and murderous mistakes. There's something else that says. I met a cop like him. He needs to be fired immediately as an intimidating threat to society. He is a psycho with a gun and a badge. And if he made those comments in any other job, he would be shown up he would be shown the door immediately. Another good point, another good situation. Let me continue going down the line because these are very interesting comments. More interesting than I actually thought they would be, but they're very interesting and they very much tell the tale about what people feel about cops like these and how the agency, the police agency, who's supposed to be supervised on them, treats these cops. He represents the rank and file officer more than the department wants to admit. I totally agree with that. Another commenter said, "I say that this guy may seem someone with a federal badge knocking on his door, in a not too distant future. Say what you want in private, but soliciting trouble, bringing trouble to your doorstep. Now everything he even ever did, including testimony as an officer, will be scrutinized." Another person said clearly this officer is disillusional. We have, this is becoming the norm of police, not the exception. Society needs to demand change right now rather than wait and let it get worse. Cops shouldn't be feared more than the criminals on the street. Oh wait, they're becoming the criminals on the street. These are comments I'm reading on this article alone. And as I go down, every one of them is making a valid point. Which brings me to the New York situation here. A guy in Staten Island lost his life after a cop put an illegal, keyword here, an illegal chokehold on the man. The man could not breathe. He ended up dying from that maneuver. This sparked anger, outrage. The autopsy came back reported as homicide, because if it wasn't for the fact that his air was restricted, he probably would have been alive. Yes, there were other minor factors as well, but the major cause of death was pretty much clear as day. This officer was placed on leave of absence. He wasn't arrested. He hasn't even been charged yet. And the reason why he hasn't been charged is because the prosecutor needs to play it safe. Basically, simply put, it is very, very difficult to have an indictment of a cop than one may think. Reverend Sharpton got involved, the Bosher got involved, and the police union got involved in the situation. And why were the cops there? Because keep in mind, if you see the video of the situation of the confrontation, there were more than one cop on this scene. You would think that this guy had probably committed a serious offense. He probably beat up somebody, robbed somebody. He was a suspect in some crime they was trying to bring down. But when you hear the fact that these cops made this the biggest thing over two loose cigarettes, the first thing he's saying is, really? This man lost his life over two loose cigarettes. Now, yes, selling cigarettes on the streets loosely is illegal because there's money changing hands, and that is an illegal transaction. But let's be honest here. Even if they arrest him, the most the judge is going to do is give him a fine. This is not a serious crime, and this goes to show the pettiness of a lot of these things. Because this thing did not need to happen. That crime did not need to happen, and this is the main problem that a lot of these cops do. They become either too aggressive over something that didn't even warranted the aggressiveness, or they have a mentality in there that if they do not act accordingly to a certain group of people, then their lives may be put in jeopardy. Let me give you an example here, and this is something that I have mentioned on the Matic Expression. We'll leave a link to James Daniel Walt's blog. It's a very good blog. I suggest you guys take the time to read. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. But this is a perfect example of this, and I'll explain as I go along here. Stop and frisk was designed for one purpose and one purpose in mind: to stop people on the street, pat them down, see if they're carrying concealed weapons. Their primary target, as testified in the civil courts, was to target blacks and Latinos. That was their primary target. That was the memo that went down. And because of that, a lot of people was up in arms because a lot of young black men, young Latino men, was just being stopped for no reason whatsoever in the streets, just in suspicion of them maybe carrying guns. This is an illegal move. It violates civil rights. It violates human rights because you are making them look suspicious. Now, the Post has mentioned something here, and I'm going to be very straightforward. I'm going to bring them up in a second, but just out of sake argument, if you were a supporter of Stop and Frisk or you wasn't a supporter, do you know what it looks like to have a person being put, to have their hands placed on the hood of a car or up against the wall and have a cop pat down? The reflection of it is not good. People stare. People get the feeling that this person did something wrong, when all they're doing is frisking him in hopes of finding or hoping not finding a weapon. What also made the situation worse was the fact that the cops was literally looking for, literally provoking fights. They wanted to make an arrest. They wanted to bring this person in. And that is not always a good thing. And this is the thing that really bothers me and disturbs me. This is a policy was done by the high rank and file. No one thought that this was wrong. They thought this was a great way. This was the way to prevent crime, keep crime down. When reality is, it didn't even make any arrests. No guns was confiscated, no gun was found, and all it did was pretty much harass people who was trying to go to their work. And I never forget the one thing that was a tall tale, and that was citizens who are supportive of the cops but just don't trust them. And one of the reasons is that they keep harassing people on the streets. How are we supposed to trust them when they just pick and choose who they harass and basically just looking for confrontation where there is none? This is something that has become a problem. This is one of the reasons why Stop and Frisk didn't work in this city. They still exist, but it's not as severe as it was when Giuliani and Bloomberg, especially Bloomberg was more aggressive. Bloomberg went way above the situation. He was keeping people's DNA that was not even convicted. That's how over the top Bloomberg was when it came to law enforcement in this city. But nevertheless, this was one of the main reasons that what happened is because they would really would target blacks and Latino men just because they feel that they're the most aggressive. This is something in their policy. They came to the conclusion that blacks and Latinos are the most aggressive. They're the most ones going to carry guns. And so we need to be more aggressive towards them by patting them down and even sometimes making them know that we are the law. That type of fear is never a good thing. All it does is bring mistrust, and it brings people to not even go to the police when there's a real situation that warrants it. And that's why this whole thing, that Stop and Frisk thing, became such a hot potato within the last few years, especially in the last year. Bloomberg was trying to do everything he can. What's even more disturbing is that when they compromised, that's what they pretty much did. They compromised by having someone who was not involved with the police department. They flipped out. They didn't want it. They didn't want no one within their rank and files to monitor them because they felt it will interfere with their police work, which it won't. They won't. First of all, they can't police themselves. Let's put it that way. You have to have someone from the outside to overlook what we're doing, because for them, all they can say is, well, we didn't see any problem, they can't do any wrong, and who knows if they actually did a thorough investigation. Who knows if they actually even look at the paperwork or even look at the testimony. So this is the whole thing about having someone who's not linked to it. I remember the Post, vouching against that. But again, I'm going to get to the Post in a second, because there's something that they brought up in their front page that got me a little angry with them, because I think they're forgetting the main point. Now I'm going back to this with the man who lost his life tragically after the incident with the cop. Okay, there is a quality of life policy in the city of New York. There are certain things you simply cannot do that is considered petty crime. For instance, you can't smoke in front of a subway station. You can get ticketed, and if you have a felony, by the way, you can actually go to jail just for the sake of seeing if your name enters in the system. There are petty crimes involves even using too much space on a subway train, taking more than one seat, where you put your feet up on the seat, where you put your bag in the seat. They can actually ticket you or arrest you for that there. This is actually something that happened. You can't sit on your porch anymore, which people are starting to do again. I think they lacked on that, but there was a point where you couldn't even sit on your porch anymore. You can't hang in the corner. Everything from urination in the streets, all these stuff, and even selling contraband on the streets, loose cigarettes, even to a subway ride. These are the things that they consider quality of life crime or petty crime. Some of these things don't even carry felonies. Like, say, if you get arrested for walking between the cars, which you can get arrested for or get a ticket for, it is considered a violation. You can go to jail depending if you have a felony or not. But it's not a felony, it's not even a misdemeanor. Eventually, the judge's going to look at you, they're just going to say, okay, you know what, you can go. But you can go to jail for that. You can literally get arrested for that. And that all really depends on the cop's discretion. It all really depends whether or not you have a felony. And basically, the reason why they did it with the felony is because they believe sometimes they can catch someone who it has a warrant, or just basically to see if there was something going on that they have. But you will go through the system, and all you need to do is ask ex-felons, and they'll tell you that this was a nightmare, because they didn't know what the hell they're doing wrong with. They're going to tell their parole officer. But these are the things that that has been targeted more so than I actually could imagine. And this is something that happened to this guy. He was selling 2 loose cigarettes, but the response of having cops pretty much geared up as if this guy was a big-time drug dealer really hit the fan. And when you see the video of this, it's just disturbing. It's like, wow, they really thought this was that serious to put a choke on him and everything else. And how they responded when the guy clearly wasn't moving was even more disturbing. See, this is the thing that really bothers me. And it turns out that they got orders from the high-rank officer to be aggressive with this guy. Here's my question, all right? This was a black male, very big guy, obviously. And my question is, and something that no one seemed to bother asking, did the police actually fear this man? Because I find it very strange that it took more than one cop to try and physically restrain this person. Just look at the video, how many cops was actually there. And I gotta ask another question. This is something very important. If this was a Caucasian man, would that same response would apply to him? And that's the thing I think that we need to look at, because again, when you look at that video, when you look at how that situation went down in Missouri, it's crystal clear that there is a fear factor going on, not just with the NYPD, but the people who continue to make these crazy policies that does nothing but actually hurt the police department images. And believe me, with New York, there are no exception. There's a lot of things that goes on. Now let's go to the Post. The Post today, and this is Saturday that I'm bringing this up. The Post had mentioned showing their support, and they did it in such a way that is so muggy, so arrogant. It just shows just how blindly they're willing to follow these police officers, who, in their eyes, can never do any wrong. I'm gonna make this very clear, because I never forget what they said. They said that while the nation and while the city is marching against the cops, we're showing our full-fledged support for the NYPD. I'm very happy for you. But here's the problem. The citizens do support, in New York and even Missouri, they do support the NYPD. I support the NYPD. I support all police officers who go out every day and risk their lives to keep us safe. The same way with the fire department, the same way with the military. I support all of them. They do a very, very stressful, very dangerous job. And I don't never look past that. I don't. And I'm pretty sure a lot of American citizens, pretty sure a lot of New Yorkers, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who live in Missouri don't either. All right, they are aware of what they do, and trust when I say it. In many ways, many of them support them. My neighborhood supports the NYPD. When I see a cop doing a beat, walking down the street, I'm thankful that they're there. I'm thankful that they're right there, keeping the street safe. And by the way, I'm sending a prayer that you go home to your family, because the last thing I want to hear is a falling officer just doing his job. All right? But let's not get it twisted. There are some bad apples out there. And the problem with it is, it's not as much that there are bad apples out there. It's just when they do something bad, there is hardly any kind of repercussion in terms of punishing these officers who have pretty much betrayed not only the people who they're supposed to protect, but also the badge itself. I am upset by the policies that is constantly being put into place that is more discriminatory than they want us to believe. Stop and frisk was a racial profiling policy. It did not need it to exist. And these policies invoke that kind of fear and uncertainty towards the other officers, so when they go on in the streets, already they have in their head that these people are dangerous, these people are animals, we need to be aggressive. These policies, which by the way done by the same people, which I'm going to tell you right now, half of them don't even give a damn about the police sacrificing their lives day by day. They don't. I'm being real. New York City Police Department, and I'm pretty sure most of the other police departments all across the country are the lowest paid people in the world. At least in the United States. There's something wrong when a person who risks their lives day by day is getting paid less than a person playing baseball. And have to wait 4 years, or 3 years, or 7 years just to get a new contract. There's something wrong with that picture. I'm being real. But the idea that the Post actually have the nerve to say that New York, or any city don't support their local police department is absurd. We do not support corruption. We do not support brutality. And we do not support when someone, which by the way, had a history of abuse of power, just like some of those comments said about this officer, and other examples of police brutality, continues to get away with it again and again until finally something like this, where he put an illegal chokehold, which is something that no one wants to talk about. Or at least for some of these guys who continue to pretend that he didn't do anything wrong. When you have an officer who right away, I hope his family's okay. But when you have a Ku Klux Klan members raising money for this officer who shot and killed a teenage boy, you have them supporting them and making ridiculous comments, and you have the police department not even trying to distance themselves from them. There's something wrong with that picture. When you have a union rep having the nerve to go on the thing demanding the mayor to support the police officer and say don't resist arrest, there's something wrong. And look, I'm not saying resist arrest. But I'm saying look at the clear picture here. Look at that guy's facial expression, seeing he's been surrounded by a whole bunch of cops over 2 loose cigarettes. The man is shocked, surprised. His hand was in the air. But they chose to go that route. They chose to go the aggressive route, and it cost the guy's life. And now we had a situation. And Reverend Al Sharpton had blown up something here. Reverend Al Sharpton have done something that I actually am glad he did. And I'm not a fan of Al Sharpton. There's a lot of stuff he has done over the years that rubbed me the wrong way. And I still believe that he only comes out, like in a situation like this, when it's a high-profile case. But if it's something else that's like mild or hardly got any media attention, he won't even show up. So I always find that to be somewhat suspicious when every time I see him. He did lose a lot of weight, though, because I almost hardly didn't recognize him with his clothes on. But he did something that actually shook the mayor a little bit. Many people thought he was the person, just basically just the mayor. I don't think he was this case. He made him a point to de Blasio that I think should be taken into consideration. That he said, if this was not your son, he's talking about the de Blasio's son, who is mixed. If he was not your son, he will probably be a choke victim too. And that really turned heads in that room. And I'm glad it did, because that brings, think about it. Everybody knows who his son is. They're not going to treat him the same way as they treat us. Anyone in New York. He has a certain privilege, if I may say so. So when you have that certain privilege, they're not going to do the same thing that they have done to that man. It's not going to happen. But this is the thing I was actually glad it did, and it brought up the seriousness of the situation. And again, I have to ask everybody, the polls, these guys. I have to ask you something: was it really worth all this scrutiny over 2 loose cigarettes? Because this is the thing that keeps getting pushed to the curve here. Is that this guy died over 2 loose cigarettes? This one guy who had a family lost his lives over 2 loose cigarettes. The cops thought it was that serious, and then the situation which they have found themselves confronted in was that severe that they have to use aggressive force. And here's how you know they're not serious about looking into the policies, which they should. When Bratton was asked about this situation, they already said we're going to look at other measures to try and restrain perpetrators. One of the measures were extending the taser program. And to them, that's how they're going to solve the problem. You didn't solve anything because you didn't look at the policies. And this is the main issue here. None of the higher brass want to look at the policies that they put into play. And they expect, put a taser on, tase them, that would be fine. Less chance of fatality. Which, by the way, getting tased doesn't guarantee that person's going to live through it. People's bodies react to different things. You have electricity being, zapped into you. There's no guarantee that you're actually going to get up from that, which was proven a few years ago in New York and all across the country. And if anything, doesn't mean that the police officers or police women, man or woman, will abuse that kind of power. It has been proven already. There's been news reports about this already. So what have you solved? The main problem here is the policy that has been put into play. I'm putting this down more heavily because that's where this thing comes from. How do the police approach a situation? If they see a Latino person or a black person, how would they address them versus a Caucasian person? You'd be surprised of how many policies are out there dealing with each situation, and none of the policies are good ones. There is a fear that is is in the NYPD. There's also a fear within just pretty much in most cities in general about certain group of people. This is not something new I'm bringing out. This has been dating back even through the 40s and 50s. And as a result, we get this type of thuggish mentality, thuggish approach to dealing with a situation where it doesn't really need to call for it. And when you have police officers like this, like Paige here, saying the dumbest things I've probably ever heard from, it can only end badly. Undocumented President Barack Obama. How the hell that came from? But this is a man with a badge. And I'm saying this right now, until these policies are changed, until the police department themselves start to held these men and women who are supposed to serve, protect, and not abuse their power, let's be honest. Until they hold them accountable for their actions and stop shielding them from what they have done and what they know they have done is wrong. Just like the union coming out there saying that that the police need that the mayor needs to support the police, basically trying to put pressure on him politically. Why don't you just look at your policy and say, we gotta check this out because this is getting way too much. But they won't, and that's where the problem lies. They won't. They don't want to check their policies. They don't really want to punish these guys. It takes a lot to convict a police officer, especially in New York City. And they really, they'd rather just blame it on the victim than actually looking at themselves and asking themselves, what? We're going to take a look at this. We got to, deal with this. They don't want to do that. And that's why I feel that this kind of stuff will continue until massive changes happen across the globe. Because this is going to continue, it's going to show up again. This is going to come up again. And as far as the poll's concerned, look, just like you, I support my IMIPD. But let's face reality here. Let's face facts here. This would not have happened if that idiot of a cop, who has a history, again, I have to repeat this, of abuse of power before, haven't done what he did. Remember, the man in Staten Island, that victim, died because of 2 loose cigarettes. And with that, I'll leave links to the stuff I've talked about. Let you guys take a look at that. Read the comment sections, guys. It's very important. These are very good comment sections, and everything that has been said here is so true. And the one guy I've said it. He said it very, very well. There need to be changes. The police officers need to be held in the same accountability as we do when they come to this situation. And they're not. The fact that the prosecutor hasn't even made a decision yet to prosecute this officer who put a illegal chokehold on his victim is telling alone. Even after the autopsy was come back as homicide. And let's be realistic. If this was me or any other normal citizen, we'll be in jail already, we'll be indicted already, and we'll be going through the system already. And they will paint us in the most worst possible way imaginable. This guy's still not only not been indicted yet, but he's still in death leave. You serious? But this is the problem. A lot of people involved in this are wishing this will go away. That eventually everything will be good in the world with them, and they will go on as business as usual. This can't continue, and it shouldn't continue. Again, I'll leave the link below. Hope you guys look at the comment section. I'll also leave a link to James Daniel Walsh's report. It's very good. And until next time, guys, I will be back on the original format, 4 stories, no more than 6 on the What's News. Also, we'll be talking about other news that is going on. But I hope you guys look at this. This was a freestyle What's News, pretty much explaining that I am back. And until then, guys, J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.